A smart hub is the central piece of your smart home. So in this video, I'm going to give you a complete breakdown of smart home hubs. I'll cover the different types you can buy, the pros and cons of each type, and I'll give you my recommendation for the best smart home hub depending on your needs. A smart hub does three main things. One, it maintains a direct connection to each of your smart devices. This creates one point of contact for you and makes everything a lot easier to manage. Two, it sends instructions to your devices. For example, if you turn on a light, that instruction comes from the hub to the relevant light bulb. And three, it connects to your home Wi-Fi network, which allows it to download software updates for itself and all your connected devices. But it also allows you remote control. So when you're away from home, you can use an app and you can send instructions to your hub remotely that way. Now, the first question people tend to ask at this point is, do I really need a hub? And the answer to that is not necessarily. If you're only using Wi-Fi devices to run your smart home, then those will connect directly to your Wi-Fi router. And so you don't really need a hub because your Wi-Fi router is standing in as your hub. But this approach poses a few problems. The first is that most Wi-Fi routers can only handle 30 or so devices before they start to slow down the whole network. The second is that Wi-Fi devices tend to require an active internet connection in order to be controlled. When your internet goes down, you will probably lose control of those devices. Finally, Wi-Fi isn't suitable for wireless devices like motion sensors. It is high power consumption, which means the batteries just need to be replaced far too often for it to be viable. So if you're serious about building a smart home, it's best to use Wi-Fi devices sparingly. Instead, you'll want to prioritize devices that run on Zigbee, Z-Wave, or Thread, and these do require their own hubs. I have a whole video on smart home protocols, so if you want to learn about that or you just need a quick refresher, that will be on screen now. Now let's talk hub types. There are really three main types of hubs out there, and the first type is proprietary hubs. A proprietary hub only works with a particular brand of smart devices. It's better to think of this as an ecosystem because it is a closed system by definition. A good example of this is Philips Hue, who make smart bulbs and switches, but they require a hub known as a Philips Hue bridge. In that case, if you decide you want to integrate other types of devices like smart plugs or thermostats, you will need to go outside of the Philips Hue ecosystem, and you probably will need another hub. If you're building out a complete smart home and you use proprietary hubs, you may just end up with 3, 4, even 5 different hubs in your home. This is obviously very messy and difficult to manage, but it doesn't define proprietary hubs as a whole. Another good example here is the Aqara ecosystem. Aqara devices also require an Aqara hub, but this company makes a much broader range of devices. This includes plugs, switches, bulbs, door locks, cameras, and all kinds of sensors. So unless you want to go really broad with your smart home, then you won't feel the need to go outside of their ecosystem. The big upside to using a proprietary hub and staying within an ecosystem is that everything tends to just work right out the box. You never have to worry about compatibility issues, and the setup process is as easy as it gets. The second type of hub is what's known as a universal hub. This one isn't locked into any one specific brand or ecosystem, and instead they try to integrate with as many different devices as possible. In theory, this means you can use devices from various different brands and you don't need a new hub every time. Popular examples of this are Habitat, Homey, SmartThings, and Home Assistant. Now, these hubs do two things to maximize compatibility with various devices. And the first is that they have wide protocol support. As I mentioned earlier, some smart devices will use Wi-Fi or Bluetooth to communicate, while others will use more smart home industry protocols like Zigbee, Z-Wave, and Thread. Most universal hubs will support all of these protocols, and as long as the second thing is in place, we'll be able to control it. That thing being software integration. Now you can think of this as a translation layer. It allows the hub to speak the same language as the device and ultimately send instructions to it. A lot of these software integrations are actually developed by the community, which is why some of these hubs have a much broader range of integration than some of the other universal hubs on the market. Overall, if you're willing to spend a bit more time setting up integrations and maybe a bit of troubleshooting here and there, the upside is that you can kind of cherry pick devices from different brands based on your needs. And you won't have to fill your house with endless hubs. Okay, the third type of hub is a smart speaker. I'm talking about Amazon Echoes, Google Nest Hubs, and Apple HomePods. These are a bit tricky because they fit somewhere in the middle of the previous two types that I mentioned. They're not proprietary because they do work with many different brands, but they're also not strictly universal either. Device manufacturers need to apply for this integration with the respective smart speakers, and these companies, Amazon, Google, Apple, all have to manually approve that application before the integration will work. The key difference being a true universal hub will connect to a device regardless of what the manufacturer intended. But where it gets really tricky is that not all smart speakers are technically hubs. Some of them, like the Amazon Echo Dots for example, are Wi-Fi only. And since Wi-Fi devices connect to your Wi-Fi router and not your speaker, these speakers really just serve as voice controllers. They're really more of an add-on, and they're certainly not a central part of your smart home setup. But more importantly, they don't replace the need for a proprietary or a universal hub. However, this isn't always the case. For example, the full-size Amazon Echoes are in fact hubs because they have Zigbee coordinators built in. This means that they can directly connect to and control Zigbee devices. Another example are Apple's HomePod speakers, which have Thread built in, meaning that they can connect to and control Thread devices. But overall, some smart speakers can be considered hubs in a limited sense, but you really do need to watch what you're buying here. Before we talk about which hub you should buy, I should quickly touch on Matter. Matter is a new smart home standard, and just to be clear, this is not a protocol. It's a separate thing. It's a software integration, which means you can have Matter over Wi-Fi or Matter over Thread. The idea here is that if it has Matter on the box, that means the device will work with any other Matter supported device. This is slowly being adopted by device manufacturers, and even a lot of old smart home devices are being updated to the new Matter standard. What this means is, over time, those three distinct categories that I just told you about will become less important because in theory, everything will run on Matter. But this is a slow process, and these categories are still very relevant even in 2024. With that being said, it's always a good idea to future-proof yourself and look for a hub that is Matter supported, even if there aren't quite as many Matter devices out there just yet. So which type of hub should you buy? If you like the idea of a very plug and play experience and you don't mind being limited to some degree in the range of devices that you can buy, then a proprietary hub is a good option for you. A popular option here is the IKEA tread-free range, although IKEA focuses a lot on lighting, so you will miss out on a few key device types like thermostats, locks, and cameras. Instead, I recommend Aqara here. They have various hubs at different price points, including small USB dongles and hub camera hybrids. And as I mentioned earlier, they cover a very wide range of device types, so you should find just about everything you need under the Aqara umbrella. They're also very reasonably priced, and the build quality is great, so overall a very well-rounded option. One thing to mention here is that Aqara is soon to be releasing their M3 hub, which is Matter supported. This is coming out in early 2024, so depending on when you're watching this, it might be worth holding out for that because that will allow you to connect non-Aqara devices to your Aqara hub. Now, if you don't want to be tied down by any one brand or ecosystem, and you don't mind putting in a bit of extra time just to set up the integrations, then a universal hub is really the best way to go. The good news is that there's really no debate on which is the best universal hub. That award goes to Home Assistant. Pretty much every device out there will integrate with Home Assistant. The problem is, it's a pretty steep learning curve. If you're not looking at this as a kind of hobby that you enjoy spending time on, then Home Assistant probably isn't for you. Instead, I would look at something like SmartThings or Habitat. You will sacrifice some compatibility, but it should be a bit easier to work with overall. Finally, for smart speakers, there really aren't too many options here. If you don't mind sticking to Wi-Fi and Zigbee devices, then a full-size Amazon Echo should have you covered. Or if you prefer to stick with Wi-Fi and Thread, then the new Google Nest Hubs and the Apple HomePods, even the HomePod Minis, will also have you covered there. The problem, as I mentioned, is that you will be limited to those one or two protocols, so it's probably best to look at a proprietary or a universal hub if you can stretch. So I think that's a good place to leave it, but don't forget to check out my video on smart home protocols. It's on the screen now and it pairs really nicely with this video. If you've got any questions, drop them in the comments below and I will see you in the next one.